If you're someone who functions well externally, but internally your mind rarely seems to switch off, this will probably feel familiar. Because many capable people don't struggle with thinking itself, they struggle with not engaging with thinking. The mind produces thoughts constantly, plans, predictions, replaying conversations, simulations about things that might happen later. That activity isn't unusual. In fact, it's one of the reasons why high-functioning people perform well. Thinking helps you anticipate problems. It helps you prepare. It helps you avoid mistakes. But over time, something subtle can happen. Thinking stops being something you use intentionally, and it starts becoming something that simply continues running. A meeting ends, but the mind continues analysing it. A message is sent, but the mind continues predicting the response. A conversation finishes, but the mind keeps replaying what was said. And when that pattern becomes familiar, it can begin to feel as if a system never completely switches off. Later in this video, I'm going to show you a very small shift that allows thoughts to lose momentum naturally. Not by forcing the mind to become quiet, not by trying to eliminate thinking, but by changing the way the system responds when thoughts appear. Because once that shift becomes familiar, the relationship you have with thinking begins to change. Earlier in this series, we explored something important. Overthinking isn't simply a flaw, and it isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. For many capable people, it's actually a strategy the nervous system learned over time. A way of staying prepared, a way of anticipating potential problems, a way of making sure nothing important slips through the cracks. Which is often why people who think a lot are also people who carry responsibility. Thinking helped you solve problems, it helped you plan, and it helped you navigate uncertainty. And when things have helped you manage responsibility successfully for many years, the system naturally learns to rely on it. But the same strategy that helps you stay prepared can also keep the system mentally active long after the moment has passed. Preparation becomes constant, and when preparation becomes constant, thinking becomes constant too. So the key distinction here is this. The problem usually isn't that thinking is happening. The problem is that the system has learned to engage with every thought that appears. And engagement is what keeps the mind active. This is where many people misunderstand the idea of letting thoughts pass. When they hear that phrase, they assume it means trying to stop thinking, trying to clear the mind, trying to force silence internally. But the moment you try to force the mind to become quiet, you've already started engaging with thinking again. You're correcting it, responding to it, trying to control it. And that engagement is exactly what keeps the thinking active. The brain evolved to scan constantly. It searches for patterns. It anticipates potential threats. It looks for ways to improve outcomes. So thoughts appear naturally throughout the day. Questions, plans, predictions, simulations about what might happen next. This process isn't something you're doing deliberately. It's something the brain produces automatically. But many people develop the habit of believing they must respond to every thought that appears. Imagine you send an email. A few minutes later, a thought appears. Maybe that sounded too direct. Immediately the mind begins analysing, rereading the message, predicting how it might be interpreted, preparing another version. Not because anything has gone wrong, but because the system wants to stay prepared. Or imagine you have a meeting. A thought appears. Did I explain that clearly enough? Now the mind begins replaying the conversation, reconstructing what was said, imagining alternative responses. Again, not because something is wrong, but because preparation previously helped maintain control. And each time the mind engages with thinking, the nervous system receives a signal that the thought matters. And when the system believes something matters, it keeps the thinking active. So the important point here is this: the mind isn't malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it learned to do. But the habit of engaging with every thought keeps the system in a state of continuous mental activity. This pattern often shows up in subtle ways. You might mentally rehearse conversations before they happen, running through different versions of what you might say. You might replay interactions afterwards, wondering if something could have been phrased differently. You might analyse the tone of the message that you sent, trying to predict how the other person will interpret it. You might anticipate problems long before they exist, preparing responses, thinking through outcomes. From the outside, these behaviours often look like competence, preparation, responsibility. From the inside, they can create the experience of a mind that never completely switches off, because every thought becomes another opportunity to engage. And engagement signals importance, which produces another thought, then another, and another. Engagement looks like this: analysing the thought, correcting the thought, responding to the thought, trying to solve the thought. Non-engagement looks different. It looks like noticing the thought, allowing it to exist, and not immediately responding to it. That small shift changes how the nervous system interprets thinking. And this is the shift we're exploring in this video. Not eliminating thinking, but reducing the automatic habit of engaging with it. Okay, so let's explore that now. You don't need to close your eyes, just allow your attention to settle slightly and notice what happens when you simply wait. A thought will appear, maybe a plan, maybe a memory, maybe a comment about what I'm saying. Instead of analysing the thought, simply notice that it appeared. No need to answer it, no need to follow it, just allow it to be there. If another thought appears, notice that one as well, without responding. And what many people begin to notice when they do this is that thoughts begin losing momentum when engagement reduces. This is the beginning of regulation, not control, not suppression, simply reducing the automatic habit of responding to every thought. And the more often the system experiences that, the more it learns something important, that not every thought requires attention. And when that happens, clarity begins to return naturally. Thinking doesn't disappear, but the pressure around thinking begins to soften, because the system no longer believes every thought requires action. And when that pressure reduces, the mind often becomes clearer without needing to force it. If you've recognized yourself in this pattern, it's worth continuing through the series, because each video builds on the last. In the next video, we'll look at another pattern that keeps many capable people mentally active: the habit of staying one step ahead of uncertainty, and why learning to sit with uncertainty is one of the most important regulation skills you can develop.